violence, addiction, and forgiveness. I asked a very poignant question yesterday, which was, let me help you with the topics that you want me to discuss between now and Christmas. And a person put up a very vulnerable post on the public page, and I'm going to reply to that now in an anonymous fashion. Okay? So, first of all, I want to thank the person for sending this message, because it is something that really struck a deep chord with me. And also, I know by me answering this question, it's going to help so many more people. So thank you for your vulnerability, because vulnerability does not mean weakness. Vulnerability means to be courageous. Okay? So, here's the question. I am in my 40s. I came from an absolutely violent home, which my father bullied me mentally and physically, and was also violent towards my mother. It was a horrendous childhood, to say the least. As a result, I suffered low confidence, low self-esteem, addiction problems, and so on. In spite of all of this, I have 3 lovely children who are all high achievers in sport and so on. I have a lovely house which I've paid for, and I'm running my own business since the 90s, which is pretty successful. My father is now elderly, and being terribly truthful, I cannot forgive him or forget him what he put me through. He was a brute and a monster. If been told by other family members and countless professional people, I have to forgive and let go. I refuse to forgive, and certainly can't forget. I'm pretty resilient, and I just can't do it. Is there anything to say? I don't need to forgive. Just putting it out there. I'm not looking for sympathy, just an opinion. Thankfully, my life is not perfect, but I'm in a reasonably good place. But this wasn't always the way. Thank you. So, that blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind. So, first things first. I actually took notes, which I never do. Very rarely do that. Okay. So, first things first. I'm so passionate about forgiveness that I wrote a forgiveness workshop last year, and I delivered it. It was my last in-person workshop that I delivered in February. Okay, with 2 of my colleagues, Gabrielle Collins and Stephen Downey. So the first thing that I want to say to you about your father and anybody else's father or mother who was violent towards them, and it's this, and I learned this from Marianne Williamson. Only hurt people hurt people. So people don't wake up in the morning and just choose, do you know what I think I'll do today? Today I think I'm going to be violent towards everybody I meet, and today I think I'm going to be a nasty piece of work. Psychopaths might do that, but people generally don't wake up for that to be their day. And when I say only hurt people, what I mean is that somewhere in your father's past, somebody hurt him very, very badly. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree when it comes to violence. And it's not the people, it's the environment in which they are reared. Okay? Now, a lot of us have broken the mould of that, and we're the lucky ones. However, not everybody is in that position. So unfortunately, your father didn't have a support network or somebody who loved him to put him on the straight and narrow, okay? Or somebody who was guiding him or supporting him. And when I say only hurt people, only hurt people, I want to add on to that and say the unhealed people are the most dangerous, okay? So all of the hurt that he was holding on the inside of his body, and I believe that this video is going to be so impactful for you in a very healing way. I literally was looking forward to doing this video for you all day. So all of the hurt that your father held on the inside of his body was so much for him to bear that that spilled out over onto you and your family. Okay? And that is not acceptable. That is not okay, but it happened. We have to look at why it happened and understand his why, his background. Some of us can make the decision to break the mold and some of us just don't, okay? And unfortunately, your father fell under that bracket, okay? You go on to say that you suffered from low self-esteem and low confidence. And that's exactly what happens to people when they are hurt by their parents and other people, but certainly when it's a hurt from a parent, because that hurt, it runs deep and it runs hard, and it's a long hard hurt. Okay, so we get our self-esteem and our confidence and our empathy from our parents, and when we don't have all of that instilled in us, we have emotional holes, and I call this the titanium plate. It's one of the cornerstones of my work. When our titanium plate in our chests that we're all born with becomes damaged by other people through violence or emotional abuse, your titanium plate is damaged, and some of them are little small holes with small hurts, and some of them are big, gaping, wide holes. And nobody taught you and nobody taught me how to fill those emotional holes correctly. And unfortunately, what we do is, and you are exactly, the statistic of what happens when you have those emotional holes, you fill your emotional holes from the outside in with pleasurable things that make us feel good temporarily. When you're chasing the feeling, it's always temporary. So you say that you are in addiction. I'm not surprised. I'm very sorry that that happened to you, and I'm glad that you're out of it. However, how we choose to numb ourselves from our pain when we don't have the tools is from the outside in. And we numb ourselves through smoking, drinking, under-the-counter drugs, over-the-counter drugs, pornography, affairs, obnoxiousness, control, fear, overtraining, overworking, overeating. All of the excesses in life, pick a number because there's many. All of the excesses in life that we chase for pleasure from the outside in is how we choose to numb ourselves. And then we go into the cycle of addiction, we go into the cycle of abusing ourselves, we go into the cycle of obesity, being unfaithful, doing things that we are ashamed of, all of those things, okay? The only way for you to fill your emotional holes correctly is from the inside out. And that's being better. Not feeling better, but being better. Being better is permanent. Feeling better is temporary. If you're chasing the feeling, you'll chase it forever. But when you are being better, the feeling will come organically. And the only way to be better is working on yourself, who you are, establishing who you are, working on your values, your confidence, your voice, what's important to you from the inside out. And that shit, my friends, is made of titanium. And that's what heals our titanium plate from the inside out. And that's when you become bulletproof to the stuff that life throws at you. Doesn't mean that life is going to stop throwing stuff at you. Of course, challenges are coming, but you will become resilient, like you said, because you've healed yourself. Okay? You've worked on your shit. That's what you've done. Okay? Now, you go on to say, I cannot forgive him. You also said, I can't forgive him. Now, actually, I'll go back. You said you suffered from. Suffer is forever. I suffer from a bad back. I suffer from depression, I suffer from this, I suffer from that, me knee, me this, me that, me eye, me other, okay? Suffer is permanent and it owns you. But experience is temporary, it's transitional, and you own it. So I want you to eradicate the word suffer out of your vocabulary. Now, to move on to another word that I want you to eradicate is can't, okay? I am an empowerment specialist. I am the empowerment coach, okay? That's what I do. I'm big into language and I'm big into holding on to your power, okay? The power of who you are and the power of your decisions. When you say, I can't, what you're actually saying is, I am choosing not to. When you say, I can't, you're handing your power away to nothing. But when you say, I'm choosing not to, you're holding onto your power, but the outcome is exactly the same. One is disempowering, one is empowering, but the outcome is exactly the same. So that is a choice that you are making, okay? And I say this with the utmost of love. Now, when you choose, and by the way, I'm not an advocate here for your father. I'm an advocate here for you. That's all I care about. When you choose not to forgive somebody, and I discussed this not so long ago on this page, and I ruffled a few feathers, and I'm okay with that. When you choose not to forgive somebody, it is like drinking poison and hoping that the other person is going to die. When you choose not to forgive, all of that toxicity is going around in your body. You're ruminating it over and over again in your mind, okay? Forgiveness is not for the perpetrator. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is the gateway to your freedom, nobody else's. People think that when you forgive somebody, you're letting them off the hook. People think that when you're forgiving somebody, you have to invite them over to your house for Sunday dinner. None of those things are true. When you choose to forgive somebody, you don't even have to tell them. It can be a private thing, okay? So I want you to be fully aware that it is a choice that you are choosing to hold onto that hurt for you and not for him. But by letting go, you free yourself. It's all about you. It is not about him. Forgiveness isn't for him. He has to forgive himself. Your forgiveness won't do anything for him until he forgives himself. This forgiveness that I'm talking about is for you. Now, let me see. Audrey says, so sad. Frida says, true, strong woman now. Colette says, love your video, so real. Caroline says, love your words. Barry Morta says, sounds familiar. Okay, so your story is striking a chord with a lot of people on this page. I want to thank you so much for being so courageous. And it is people like you and your story and me being able to come on here and share my knowledge and the work that I've put in on forgiveness over the years is able to help other people and empower other people, and that's what this page is all about. So listen guys, very interested in hearing your feedback on that, and I'll catch you on the page later. Take it easy. Slán.